intestine and from the small intestine. Okay.
Okay, and that's a normal duct.
This is normal, and then it drains blood from, the other place we get blood from is right up here. It comes in, and this is from the pancreas and the duodenum. And so the spleen, large intestine, small intestine, pancreas, and duodenum are all considered kind of like contaminated organs, right? Bacteria are absorbed through the GI tract. We have bacteria living in our gut. And that, the liver becomes the filter for all that and removes that all from the body. What I'm seeing on Ella is essentially she's got a vessel that comes off right about here that goes and it dumps down into the vena cava. And so this blood is going in here. So all this blood's coming here, it's coming here, it's actually flowing backwards here, and it's going around the liver, so it's not getting into the liver. So that's what a portal systemic shunt is. So essentially the blood bypasses the liver. So surgically what we have to do is we have to go put a ring around this, or what's called an amyloid constrictor, that slowly squeezes that off and forces the blood back into this system and through the liver. Okay. She's tiny. She's a really small dog. This vessel only measures 2.5 millimeters in diameter. Wow. And the longer I stare at it, I told your daughter, so don't show this. The longer I stare at it, the more I start going, am I really seeing this, or are my eyes playing tricks, but I'm pretty confident that this is dumping into the vena cava. I've got a video of this. You can see the blood flow coming in the vena cava up here, right behind the liver. The liver's right here. There's really no blood that enters the vena cava past about this level. So at this level we have what's called the left renal vein. So I'll just say left kidney vein. And then at this level we have the right kidney vein. And then there's two small veins that enter just in front of that, called the gastroepiploic veins. Or the phrenicoabdominal veins, I'm sorry. But these veins are way back here. This is coming, so there's nothing that enters the vena cava in front of the phrenicoabdominal vein. And so when we see blood flow entering up there, that's abnormal. Okay. So the challenge is we can see it on ultrasound, and like I told Michelle, like I feel 85-90% confident that I can see it. Like I'm more confident that I can see it than I'm not. It's not like a 50-50 deal by any means. I'm pretty comfortable saying, hey, this is what
you can see. What?
That I can see this shunting vessel entering into the vena cava. But I hate to say I'm 100% certain, because the challenge is, like, the next step here would be to go in surgically and try to find this little 2.5 millimeter vein, and then get an amyloid constrictor or cellophane band around it to slowly squeeze it off. Okay. The risk for surgery for her is reasonably high. And when we say that, like most surgeries, we say 90+% chance of success. When a high risk surgery is that there's a 20% chance of failure, right? That there's a super high risk surgery is like a 50-50, and then obviously if it's less than 50-50, so I still think there's a chance we can fix her and get it ligated. Yeah. But she has to make it through surgery. She has to recover. We'd have to not have her have too many seizures or have too much neurologic changes occur and things like that. So there's a lot of things that kind of have to go in our favor too, and those things all factor in. So that's what we're dealing with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a little easier to see it on a picture than just to hear it explained. In fact, while I was explaining it to you, I was drawing it for me. That's
yeah.
So this could, even for me, just to visualize it, it's a visual thing for me. So
yeah. But when you said you think you saw it, that was ultrasound.
Yeah, we're looking with ultrasound, so
Yeah.
I can show you what I'm seeing on ultrasound if you guys want to walk back.
Yeah, sure.
Come on back and I'll show you. And you'll see why I'm saying, like, ultrasound's not like a high definition movie.
This is Ella?
Yeah, this is her. So, let's just skip. So we looked at all her organs. So this is her kidneys, her spleen, intestines, spleen, adrenal glands, etc., etc. But we're gonna skip. We're gonna skip down to this area here. So what we have here. So this is her vena cava, and this is what looks like the shunt. This is a technology called color flow Doppler, where we can trace blood flow with kind of just like Doppler weather does, and we can trace it with Doppler blood flow. Blue means that this blood's flowing away from our transducer. So if we're holding our transducer and scanning, it's going the opposite way. And so this blood on this, and here's it without Doppler. So this is the vena cava right here without Doppler. Let me just put a label on this. I meant to do that. So this is the vena cava without Doppler. This is the diaphragm right here. And what we're seeing is here's the portal vein coming forward, and then this vessel comes on down. This is the rest of the portal vein going up towards the liver. The liver is right here. You can see just a little bit of liver right here. And it essentially that vessel is dividing off, and it appears to dive dorsally. And when I follow it dorsally, I can follow it, and I can see this dumping into the vena cava right here with Doppler.
Okay.
But the hard part for me is I'm having a hard time connecting it all the way up through, and sometimes that's just due to size and flow. Like if the blood isn't flowing very fast, if it's fairly static flow, it won't pick up on Doppler. It's kind of like a storm, you know.
Yeah.
The more wind there is, the more green, and you know it picks it up better, right?
Yeah.
The more static it is, but I can see this entering into the cava right here with Doppler, and that's why I say, hey, this should not be entering the cava here. This is the liver right here, and the liver on her's tiny. It would be tiny anyway, but it's like super tiny.
Small because it hasn't developed.
It hasn't developed, and so that's what we're seeing. So the goal, like surgically, what we have to do is we have to go in and try and find this vessel. And like I said, when I measure this vessel, I think I got to measure here. I get like 0.28 millimeters here. I got a 0.25 on this one, I think. So it's just not, it's not very big. 2.5, 2.8 millimeters in diameter. So normally on a dog, the portal vein's probably 5 to 6 millimeters in diameter, which is twice as big as this. Yeah. And shunts usually are about the size of the vein, because most of the blood flow on these dogs isn't going into the liver, it's actually going around the liver.
Okay.
But that's what we're seeing. And the challenge, like I said, with ultrasound is you're looking at you want a really crystal clear picture, like high definition television, but it's not that type of technology. You're using sound waves to map vessels and things. This is an intestinal loop here, so that gives you an idea. That's an intestinal loop on her in cross section, and that gives you an idea how small these vessels really are. Entering into the cava right here with Doppler, and that's why I say, hey, this should not be entering the cava here. This is the liver right here, and the liver on her's tiny. It would be tiny anyway, but it's like super tiny.
Small because it hasn't developed.
It hasn't developed, and so that's what we're seeing. So the goal, like surgically, what we have to do is we have to go in and try and find this vessel. And like I said, when I measure this vessel, I think I got to measure here. I get like 0.28 millimeters here. I got a 0.25 on this one, I think. So it's just not, it's not very big. 2.5, 2.8 millimeters in diameter. So normally on a dog, the portal vein's probably 5 to 6 millimeters in diameter, which is twice as big as this. And shunts usually are about the size of the vein because most of the blood flow on these dogs isn't going into the liver; it's actually going around the liver.
Okay.
But that's what we're seeing. And you can, the challenge, like I said, with ultrasound is you're looking at a, you want a really crystal clear picture, like high definition television, but it's not that type of technology. You're using sound waves to map vessels and things. This is an intestinal loop here, so that gives you an idea. That's an intestinal loop on her in cross section, and that gives you an idea how small these vessels really are. Her gallbladder is really small. Our bladder was small today, which that just means that she peed. But anyway, that's what we're seeing. Okay. So if we went into surgery, what we're doing is we're trying to find this area right here where this dumps in, and we're trying to get basically an amyloid constrictor around it right at this level. We're trying to get a ring around it right here, right before it dumps in.
Okay.
These are delicate vessels too, right? They're veins. So they're
Yeah.
really thin walled, really delicate things.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And your best guess is maybe 80%?
Yeah, I think there's a reasonably good chance we'll find it and we can get an amyloid on it. And these dogs, if they make it through surgery and survive the post-operative period and we ligate the right thing, they get better. For sure, because the vast majority of them, their blood flow then redirects back to the liver, and the liver develops. We always take a biopsy of the liver at surgery too, to have the pathologist look at it and see if there's any fibrosis or any scarring in the liver that would indicate that maybe it's not going to develop.
Yeah, because fibrosis of the liver is
if it's fibrosed, which I don't think it is. Her liver actually, it looks reasonably normal there. So.
Well,
does that help you a little bit?
Yeah, she's got to think about it. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's something you kind of have to make sure that you're comfortable with.
We'll take the weekend, and I did have a question. Like, so with if I was able to sign up for like a credit card, like they have care credit or something. Yeah. They have like a 6 month. I think it's still 6 months.
It's either 6 or 12 months. I think it's 12.
Okay.
Based on the, I believe it's 12 months of no interest.
No interest. Okay.
Yeah. But here's the deal. There's always a catch with those.
Yeah.
They charge you, if you don't have it paid off in the 12 months, they charge you interest on the entire amount you initially financed.
Yeah, and it's a lot.
So they get you that way. So if you're going to do that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. A lot of people do. I feel like I need to tell folks like, hey, you gotta try really hard to pay it off before the data in me's coming out saying, tell my kids like, hey, you do this. Yeah. Make sure you try to have that paid off
for sure
before the deadline, because even if you have $1 left on the balance,
it'll be the entire.
You're going to pay interest on the entire amount that you put on.
So all of it by that time,
and then you're going to pay a year's worth of interest, which is going to be it's hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know, $600 or $700 in interest.
Added on.
So care credit's a great option, but there's always a catch.
Are there other besides care credit like cards?
There's another service called Scratch Pay, which is kind of a subsidiary of care credit, and I think their interest rates are higher than care credit. So care credit's the best for sure.
I used to have that for my other dog, and I think at that time it was 6 months. But if it's 12 months,
the gals ask them up front.
I will.
They know for sure because they deal with that all the time. Yeah. I think it's 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it would make the payments more manageable so that it's not just a lump sum of like $4,000 to $6,000.
And that's the hard part. You've already spent. At this point, to figure it out, you spent more than $1,000.
Yeah.
Right. So, and there's some follow-up post-surgery too, like those bile acids that they did pre-surgery.
Yeah.
We check those at 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days post-surgery. So, and